Hey guys, it's me, Tom, and it's not Sunday, and this isn't recorded, and it's Tuesday. So anyway, this is my Sunday Funday live stream number 4, but on a Tuesday. I'm gonna explain all that in a second. But there's a lot of things to go over right now, which is what I'm intending to do. So come along for the train wreck ride that it will be. Anyway, so there are a few things happening today. So first thing you'll notice, today's Tuesday. I did not upload pre-recorded edited video this morning, which is the very first time I've ever not uploaded on a deadline since last summer when I started giving myself deadlines for videos. So I felt really weird about that, and I wanted to do something today, and I had an idea for a live stream I wanted to do. I didn't do my live stream this Sunday because it was a Super Bowl, and I didn't really think that my YouTube channel was going to compete with that. So plus I actually wanted to watch it because it was really fun. And anyway, long story long, we're here now, and I have a whole bunch of stuff sitting in front of me. So I thought this would be a good time to kind of give some channel updates, and then also talk about some of these 3D printers, and then also whatever you find folks feel like. Sorry, I had to give myself a like there because somebody's got to do it. Um, so yeah, so to get started off, last time I did a live stream, I unboxed this printer here, the Monoprice MP Delta Mini. And since then I've been playing around with it, and I don't have a full review for it, but I'm going to make one. This is a very, very interesting printer. And so far I kind of like it a lot, and I'm really impressed with it so far. And so I've been comparing it with a lot of my other printers. These were the two minis. This is my very first 3D printer right here, and as soon as I got it, I loved it so much. I bought a second one so that I could print more, and then those prompted me to buy another one that I'm going to get to, which led to this beautiful printer here about a year ago, which is the Prusa MK2S. This is an incredible printer. And then this guy is just sort of this absurd little thing. So I want to kind of show you some comparisons. And then I'm also having some issues with the 3D printer, so I want you guys to be able to kind of check that out. Pardon me as I step off screen real quick because I want to take this title off, and I've got so much junk on here that I can't do that from on camera. There's no room for computers and stuff on here. So to kind of start off, first thing, which I'm going to be sort of hammering home right now, what I have noticed just in terms of my YouTube channel is growth has been happening lately, which is great. Lots more subscribers, tons of views, which is awesome. People seem to really like 3D printing stuff, which is cool because I love 3D printing related things. But what I've noticed when I look at it is most of the views come from people who are not subscribed to the channel. And so I wanted to take a second to remind everyone, if you haven't, to make sure to subscribe, to push that subscribe button so that videos show up in your feeds. Now, if you're someone who just shows up and watches one video and leaves, then there's no point. But if you're someone who watches my videos regularly, or participates or likes live chats, please make sure to do that so that way they show up in your feed. That way I have an idea of who's watching. So maybe you can kind of help me figure out what kind of videos to make or not make. And then also, if you like live streams and you want to jump in on them, make sure to hit the little bell so that way you get notifications, and then you can join in on chats. Like right now, this is an unscheduled normal time for live streams. And so it's sort of if you didn't hit the bell, who's going to find it unless you happen to be randomly looking for it on a Tuesday? But anyway, so that's kind of my spiel, just asking for subscriptions. Because I set a little goal. I'm nearing up on the 200 mark, and I'd really like to hit that by Sunday so that on next Sunday's live stream, I can kind of celebrate that a little bit. I like celebrating milestones on live streams. It's fun. But I don't want just random, hit the button for no reason and never watch a thing again. It's nice to get genuine subscribers who actually watch the content and enjoy things. But enough of that. Let's jump into the actual stuff I need to accomplish here today, which is a little bit about 3D printing. So thanks to a lot of people in the 3D printing subreddit and the MP Select Mini owners subreddit, I've been having issues with these two printers, which is crazy because I got them both. This one had worked beautifully right out of the box, the very first one. This one did not work as beautifully. Did I just crack my watch screen? Anyway, This one did not work as beautifully. That's why it has a glass bed, because the bed was a little funky. I put a glass bed on it. I plan to do actually I want to do a live stream one of these weeks where I put a glass bed on this one just so I can show you how to cut the glass and prepare everything. But they've been working pretty well. And then they kind of sat for a month or two and didn't really get used. And when I started printing with them again, the results were terrible on both of them. So I'm not entirely sure why, but I'd really like to play around with them and get that sorted out. So I'll kind of show you what I'm talking about. Let me see if I can switch my cameras over here. There we go. Okay, so here are a few little minis. These are benchies. If you've ever done 3D printing, you've probably seen people print these little tugboats. And there's a reason that people print these, and I've kind of mentioned it before. But basically, these are benchmarks, and what that means is they're really hard to print. They have all these weird angles. If you kind of here, I'll sort of back them up a little bit and put this guy in the front. But if you kind of look at them, they sort of have, they have all these different arches. They have all these different angles. They have some really fine details. And it's really tough for printers to do that accurately, and then especially if you want to measure them, make sure they're very accurate. And they have some printing on the bottom, they have some printing on the back. They're very fine, detailed prints. And so if your printer can print out one of these well, that means it's probably well adjusted. Whereas if your printer's having issues with those, you might have a problem that you need to calibrate. And so that's where I've sort of been with these printers lately. So I'll give you an example. This green boat right here was printed by this Select Mini, the second one that I got. And it's decent. It's not a terrible print. The quality it's not bad. It's a little rough. And I don't know if you can see it on this little camera here. But there's these holes in it. It's not filling out the top layers enough. There's these little patches and holes, which is really annoying, and it's not something that used to happen there. So I'm trying to figure that out. It's an okay print, but it's not great. So that came from this printer here. Now, this white one came from the very first printer I got, which used to print out incredible. And I don't know if you can see the issues that this one's having. You might not be able to totally, but you can probably see it almost looks like it's melting. It almost looks like it's made out of frosting or something, because it is not a smooth print. And so something crazy is happening with this printer. I kind of need to tear it down and figure it out. You can see there's all kinds of little chunks, and it's gross. What's up, Derek? I see you saying hello. It's nice to see you again. More 3D printing stuff. Talk about some other things too in a minute. But yeah, this printer's just not producing good results right now, and that sucks because that's my first printer and I really loved it. It's what hooked me into 3D printing, and so I want it to be better. Now, that's not something for today. That's just kind of an issue I'm dealing with. What I really wanted to show was the difference between these two printers, the Prusa i3 and the Mini, because the Mini is $150, or the Mini Delta is $150. The Prusa is $800 for the kit and $1,000 if you buy it fully assembled and calibrated. And they just came out with a new version, the Mark III, so the price on this one dipped a little bit. But anyway, that's the basic prices for it. So there's a huge price difference between these two printers. Obviously, you can see the print beds are totally different sizes. The Delta's print bed is, this big, and the Prusa's quite a bit larger. It's almost a square foot or cubic foot. And so I kind of wanted to run through a little bit of comparison between the two, because I'm very impressed with the Mini Delta. It's a very quirky printer. For example, it has no power switch. You just have to plug it in. And the power adapter terrifies me because it's a small little 12-volt adapter. It makes a weird noise. You have to plug it in to turn the printer on. It's a stupid design. But the printer itself produces these great results. So here's what I'm talking about. This green benchy was printed on the Delta. Hopefully you can kind of see some details there. This is one of the best, cleanest benchies I've ever printed. You can kind of see the texture on the side, especially if I compare it with one from the Mini, where if you look, let's see if I'll put them head to head. If you look at this Mini, this one from the Mini, it has all this like roughness, and it looks like these little like boogers around there. This is just smooth. It looks like injection molded plastic. It doesn't even look like it's 3D printed. The detailing on the roof, I might not be able to convey on this this camera here, but the detailing on the roof, the little shingles and the angle, this is a super precision print. All the small little details, it's fantastic. And just for comparison, here's a benchy from the Prusa, which is for sure better. This really doesn't even feel like a 3D printed object. This is like a perfect print. But keeping in mind, the red one is from an $800 to $1,000 printer, and the green one is a $150 printer. The quality is really there on the Delta, which is cool, and I'm really excited to do a full review video on this in the coming weeks as I get to know it just a little bit better, because it's awesome. But anyway, I'm going to jump back to a few other things here. So wait a minute, what is this? I labeled all these different shots weirdly. So now what I actually need to do for 3D printing, I'm going to unplug these guys right now because we don't need them here. Plus, 3D printer power adapters are kind of terrifying to me. So I'm just going to push the minis off to the side right now. They're not in trouble, they just need to be out of the way. They just need to be out of the way. So those are over there. We can even take the Prusa. We may or may not use this later. I kind of want to keep it for an example of something. I'm going to put this over there. I feel ridiculous having... I have this thing where when I get into a hobby, I get really into the hobby. As you can kind of see. And then there's the Delta right here. I'm actually not going to print anything with the Delta right now, so I'm going to unplug it because this thing is screaming in a weird way. Put it in my pile of adapters. And I think I'll just move the Delta out of the way. So Derek, while I'm moving these around, I see that you're asking GoPro 5 or 6. I don't know if you're asking if I'm filming any of this with the GoPro. I'm filming, this camera is the 6D Mark II, which I did a video about. I'm do more videos about that too. And then for the close-up shots, I'm just actually using this little Logitech webcam, which is really handy because it's got a tripod mount and this cool little stand. I do have a GoPro 5, which I really like. The 6 seems to be kind of the same thing. Some people don't really like it. I don't notice a difference. Definitely didn't make me upgrade from the 5. But what I just learned from watching Tony and Chelsea Northrop's video they did a couple weeks ago about GoPro, the company, they kind of did the whole history. I don't know, GoPro is doing terribly right now and is like trying to sell itself to somebody. Basically, they're almost out of business. And I didn't realize that. I didn't realize the whole history of GoPro and it's not the company that I thought it was, and that kind of bummed me out a little bit, but I really do like the GoPro Hero 5. I've gotten good results from it. I actually just bought the suction cup last weekend and was driving around town with it, suction cup to the side of my car to get some time lapses, so those will pop up in a video coming up for sure. But here's the thing that I needed to work on with 3D printers today, and this was kind of a good example for a live stream. These printers I have at home, and I just kind of keep them for whatever projects I want to work on. But about a year ago, before I bought this Prusa, I bought a Monoprice Maker Select Plus, which looks a lot like the Prusa. I'll show you. Oof. It's this printer right here. It is a heavy printer. So this printer I bought about a year ago. And the reason I bought this was it was on sale. And if you notice, it's the same style. It's the same i3 style as the Prusa is, because even though Prusa is, kind of one of the people who, and one of the companies that sort of like popularized this style, it's open source. They made it open source so other companies could take it and do their own versions of it. And, this was about $350, $800 to $1,000. And I wanted to check this out and see how it worked. This is a Monoprice version, but it's also sold originally under the name Wanhao as a duplicator i3 Plus. I think was what it went by, and then Monoprice rebadged it. It's a good printer. I've had really good results from it, and what I do with it is I keep it in my classroom actually. so that we can print stuff in the classroom. It's just been acting real weird lately. Honestly, I've been out at some conferences and some events, and I kind of have a feeling that maybe it got touched and messed with and moved around while I was out of the classroom, and then maybe that threw it off a bit. But it's always just had a few little quirks too, so I thought we need to start using it for some projects at school where I work, and I thought this would be a good chance. I need to calibrate it, get it up and running. And I'll kind of run through some basic measurements. I'm not doing any basic fixes. I'm not doing anything crazy with it. I'm not tearing it apart or redoing anything. I'm just kind of like making sure it works as properly as possible. So that's kind of my main goal there. And so that's pretty much what I'm going to run you through. And then I have a few little updates on my channel to kind of go over with. So if you tuned in for something related to 3D printers, that's what's going to start right now. Let's see. So this printer, it has a heated bed. It's got this big giant hot end over here. And the bed is cool because it's not a self-leveling bed, but it has these knobs that let you level out the bed. But I've been having a lot of trouble. Let me see if I can show anything here to kind of help you see what I'm talking about. But if I cut to a shot of the bed, this might not be super obvious, but you can kind of see some marks in the bed. And I've had issues with this being level. And it kind of goes from the hot end either jamming into the bed and causing all these scratches, or basically not touching the bed and the print doesn't stick. And sometimes on the same print. So it does a real weird thing. I'm having a similar issue with the Delta, which from the factory came adjusted in a way that the hot end kind of digs into the bed a little bit, and you can sort of see some residue from prints hanging out there, which is sort of a bummer. And anyway, so that's kind of what we're dealing with and going through over here. So to start out with, this has been around for a while. Basic printer care is I'm just gonna pull out the compressed air, kind of dust everything off a little bit. The screen. The thing about this printer, which I love probably more than any of the others, is the interface, because it's just a touch screen. It's big, it's bold, it's super clear. I'll show you some examples of what I'm talking about, but it's so easy to navigate through this printer. The Prusa is very basic, but once you get the hang of it, it's good. The minis are okay. The knob is very sensitive and weird, so you turn it and it ends up going like, every time you try to push the select button, you end up nudging over like to different options. And the Delta, I'll talk about it in my review. I've gotten used to it. It makes a lot more sense. I don't dislike it, but it's a little bizarre. And the Delta especially, it just looks like a touch screen. And so I'm constantly, even though I know it's not, I'm constantly trying to touch it, which is a weird thing to say. So anyway, one great thing about this printer here, the Maker Select Plus, is that it's totally self-contained, much like the Prusa, whereas the power supply is put in the printer, the power supply is housed in the printer. That means you don't need one of these external power bricks because it's in the printer. I hate those things. How do you, those are very obnoxious. So anyway, you've got a power supply, just goes right on the back, and the printer turns on. Before I turn it on, let me get the webcam pointed at the display so you can kind of get an idea of maybe what it looks like. Because this is where they really got it right. So there you go. There's the display. I'll hit the power switch. And as it boots up, kind of hear the fan go a little bit. Got that Monoprice logo and those sweet, sweet graphics. There you go. And this is why I love this printer. There are no knobs. There are no weird buttons. If you press, let me see. It's hard to see from over. I might just walk around here. But if you press System, it takes you into where you can set things up and move things around and home it. If you press Tool, that's where you can move, disable drives, load filament, heat it up. Actually, I am going to preheat it for some PLA. And then if you want to print, you can just do print and it'll cycle through everything that's on your SD card. It is so nice. By far, this printer has the best interface I've had. Also, wonderful thing, just like the Prusa, it takes a full-size SD card. Sorry, I should put this down here. It takes a full-size SD card, which is truly fantastic because you just pop this in the computer, put your prints on it, and you're good to go. So there's that. Uh-oh. There we go. So there. Now, what I did before I started the stream, and actually before I loaded this up in the car to take it home, was I loosened all of these thumb screws on the bed to almost as loose as they could go. So these springs that are on the bed get released. And then I could try leveling out the bed because that is something, geez, I've been struggling with that like crazy. Luckily, this printer has a pretty sweet option for leveling out the bed. Let me grab a note card right quick. All right, so if you're going to level out this bed, boom, you need a note card. And this printer walks you through the process in a way that is really nice, really easy. Now that this should be up to heat, I'm gonna try to pull out this filament that snapped off. Oh, we'll deal with that later. Anyway, there we go. So here's the main screen. All I need to do is go to Tool, I believe. And then there is, turn this around so you can hear me, there is a leveling option. And you'll see it actually says prepare a name card, wait until homing is finished. So, let me see the best way to handle this. So what it does then, I'll just do it on the wide shot because that'll be easier. But I might walk around and try to not get in the way too much. So what it does is it says you've got these thumb screws down here. The goal is to have the nozzle about 1 millimeter away from the build plate, which is just about the size of an index card. And so if I click next, it will get started. I just need to lay this card on the bed. The printer positioned the head in one corner. Right now, since the bed is totally loose, I can't move that card. It's totally stuck there. So all I need to do is tighten this up a little bit until I can kind of move the card. There. It's moving, but it's kind of scraping. I'm going to come back and do it again. So we'll jump to the next position. It should be over here somewhere. We're kind of doing the same thing. So the bed has these springs, and we're just kind of like closing it together to pull it away from the... I just realized something. Huh. Well, we'll get there. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I just realized I might need to mess with the Z-axis on this a little bit. The reason for that, I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but on here, this screw is this spring has that much tension on it, whereas this one is almost all the way clamped down. So that means there's an issue with some kind of leveling not being there. I'm thinking that that's the Z-axis, meaning that it's probably lower on this end and higher on this end, and so I'll have to adjust that once things are done. I should actually... Well, we'll run through this and I'll do it one more time afterwards. This is interesting. So, I'm gonna hop back here. Basically, it's the same thing. I'm just tightening these thumb screws until there's enough space, enough give that the note card will slide. You're still having the hot end touch the note card, but it's not totally like stuck. And that's pretty much what you want, because when the 3D printer is putting down filament, you don't want it to be round. You don't want it to look like, how filament normally looks. It's kind of round. You want it to be a nice, flat, like smushy line, bead, whatever you want to call it. So we'll do one more. I sure hope that was next and not end. There we go. I don't know what I just did. Next, there we go. I think I just repeated the one step. Alrighty, so there we go. Got to tighten this one up just a little bit. And now it's good to go, but I can totally tell just offhand, it's this corner of the bed is always giving me trouble. It's always like it's just much fussier than the rest. So sort of interested in something here. So let's play around with this menu a little bit first. Let me pop this back up on screen for you. All right. I mean, okay. So if I click OK at the end, now it's going to take me here. I do not trust the Z-axis on this really at all right now. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to move the Z-axis. What if I home it? What is that? That's bringing it down. I don't want that. Well, we will wait. There we go. I want to bring the Z-axis all the way up. This is a benefit of the Prusa. The Prusa has live Z leveling, so as it's printing, you can actually fine-tune the Z-axis, the up and down, which is such a helpful feature. But of course, everything on the Prusa is incredibly helpful and well thought out. I'm a big fan of that printer. This is still going. I feel like maybe I hit the button too many times or something. So there's obviously a delay because I just tapped that a few times and now it's doing this. We might need to disable the motor at a certain point. There we go. So now it is ramming itself into the top. I've pressed the disable motor button several times and it is not disabling. That's fun. We'll disable the drive. It's just doing its thing. It shouldn't hurt anything, it's just annoying. There we go. Okay. So, I notice that's my thing. That's how I transition. I just go, so, period, which is totally bizarre because that's not how humans talk. Ooh, this might be a helpful view for you, actually. Or not. I don't know. I love just second-guessing everything in my life. But that's the beauty of live. So I'm going to use the Delta is now a tripod. Cool. This view looks like it will work really well. Let's just flip on some autofocus. There we go. Okay, so here is a view from the back of the printer, the top of the Z-axis. As you can see, the whole, whatever you want to call it, carriage is up here at the very, very top. And the reason I did that was to try to level it out as much as possible. It looks as though these are pretty even. I might twist this one. So if you're wondering what I'm doing right now, I'm doing something you might not be what you're supposed to do, but whatever. I'm a rebel. So I'm just turning the rods on the Z-axis by hand, getting my hands nice and greasy, until this whole assembly is all the way up at the top, as far as it will go. And now what I'm going to do is actually press the home button for the Z-axis, and that should move down. There it goes. And the reason that I did that Ugh, my hands are disgusting right now. The reason I did that was because I can totally tell that this is uneven now. And that's good, because I want to level out this whole part, so that way as it's going up and down, it's even across the bed, which will help my bed be more level. This is a long process, but that's kind of part of 3D printing, honestly. Alright, so this should home itself down to the bottom over there. I just need to clean my hands, sorry. It's like, if I have sticky hands or grimy hands, I hate it. Okay, so right now, let's see if I can give you guys a nice view of this. Of what I'm talking about here. Ugh, camera's all greasy even. Gross, Tom. Disgusting. Alright. This might not be the best, easiest view, but what you're looking at is this rod right here, this rail, should be the same height above the entire build plate. And obviously the easiest way to do that, to check that, there are a couple ways. The most efficient way is to literally just take a ruler and measure it. But honestly, I always have a little bit of trouble getting it accurate this way. And totally tell the right side is significantly lower. So here's a super stupid simple trick that I learned that has worked quite well. Let me see if I can find an object. Possibly this filament. I'm just going to try to find an object that fits right under there. Oh, it could really be anything as long as it's a fairly firm object, and then you just sort of level it based on that, which I know sounds a little stupid, but trust me, it works quite well. But even here, if you want to see what I'm talking about, as I move this battery over, you can see the rod gets much closer to it there. So what that means is I would actually like to raise up the right side, since that's the side that's been giving me all the trouble all these years, or this 1 year, all these months. So 27. All right. Okay, so I'm just gonna take this, turn it by hand until this kind of levels out a little bit. And now, still not totally level. This can get thrown off in shipping, it can get thrown off in moving the printer from place to place. You know, I've moved this to and from work several times since I've gotten it. It can also just get thrown off over time, as it keeps being used time and time again. Okay, that looks pretty darn even right now. So if I were a smarter man, I would have done that first before I leveled out the bed. So what I'm going to do now is level out the bed again. But this time, I know that this cross-section is totally even. So here we go. I'm going to go back in here. I'm going to go to level and get started. There we go. Now I've got a little bit of tension. That's actually perfect. You can kind of hear the card scraping against the hot end, but I can move it pretty freely and easily. That should be pretty good. So let's check out all these points and see. That one. See, that one now I actually need to loosen this a little bit, which is exactly what I wanted to do. Because there's also the issue of, which I think is actually the case with this, if the bed itself is not level, you're never going to be able to level it out by running through this process, which is why on one of the minis I have a glass bed. Ultimately, I should probably put a glass bed on this one as well. Wow, the distance. I'm I see a mistake that I had made. See, this sort of seems like a pain, but it's also kind of the fun of 3D printing, which is I just spent my time raising this end when really I should have been lowering this end, because right now the hot end is so high up from here that if I try to loosen it enough to level it, literally the screw won't do it. Like, there's not enough space. So they all need to come down is what needs to happen. And I bet that will help solve some problems. So I'm going to put this one back where it was. And if somebody watching has, like, you know, the more official way of doing this, I am all ears. But, you know, we just got to get stuff done here at a certain point. I should disable the drive. There we go. Cool. I was wondering why that was a little more difficult than it should have been. There we go. So this needs to get lower. Right. That's too much. I put it right there. That looks pretty even to me. Nice. Okay. Now. Oh my gosh. Let's see. Sorry, I looked at something. I thought I had done something totally wrong, which is usually what happens in my life. Cool. Let's try this one more time. Or third time. Third time's a charm. Put a note card. Now what I'm hoping is that I actually have to lower this a little bit. Definitely I do. Great. Perfect. Next. Now I'm hoping I have to lower this because I can't raise it anymore. That was my problem. Oh, it definitely needs to be lowered. 3D printers are such a good example of cause and effect because literally everything you do on a 3D printer has some effect on some other part of the 3D printer. Let's see. This needs to be lowered. Great. And the last one. That one's actually pretty good. You'll probably lower it a little bit. But not much. Okay. So that's pretty dang decent right there. Now what I'm going to do is actually print a calibration print so that way I can kind of see what it's looking like as it prints. So in order to do that, what am I going to do here? I'm going to put my camera on a small tripod so you can see what's printing and what I'm talking about. Show don't tell, am I right? Alrighty. There we go. Now we need some filament. This printer has a couple nice features for changing filament, which work sort of okay. They're not fantastic, but they work all right. Let's see, preheated. We're already preheated for PLA. So what I'm going to do is go into filament and unload the filament, which probably won't do much of anything. It works like 30% of the time. But really, I just compress the release, and I want to just be able to pull up this little stick of filament that broke off in here. There we go. This is why I have pliers. Not that you should really have to apply your filament out of a printer, but there we go. Okay, that's just trash. Now, I'll load in some new filament. Whenever I do test prints, I like to go with simple, nothing crazy filament, no wood, no weird translucent stuff, no flexible anything, just a good, reliable filament. I had very good luck with Hatchbox. I'm just use this silver filament. I've printed lots of things with this that have worked very well. And now I'm just going to go back, try to reverse this so I can load the filament instead of unload it. Ideally, the printer will just grab the filament and load it for you, but I've had that happen maybe once in the time I've owned this printer. Usually I just kind of loosen it and just force the filament out. There we go. The thing when you get lower cost printers that have all these high-end features is that those features oftentimes don't work that well. Okay, so we've got new filament loaded in. We've got the bed leveled. Let's do a print and see how it comes out. Here is the print bed. I'm going to go in here and print just a little calibration file. Da, 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 da. There we go. It should already be pretty much up to temperature, so it shouldn't take too long. I'm having a hard time talking today. There we go. So if you're just joining me, I kind of explained this pile of printers over here, which has been pushed off to the side. And then I ran through a short diagnostic process on this Monoprice Maker Select Plus. And now I'm running a calibration print to see how it's printing. I'm just waiting for it to heat up, and then things should be good to go. Wow, ShareSpark Media, thanks for complimenting my angle changes. I sure love being digitally literate and savvy. And so basically what I'm going to do here is as is printing, this is just printing like a one-layer print essentially. As you can see now it's kind of getting started. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to watch it and adjust the thumb screws and the leveling as necessary. I'll try to give you the best view possible. Except that it didn't print anything. Okay. Great. We've solved it. This is really what I meant by train wreck at the beginning of this, is that with 3D printers, you never know what they're going to do. So when you do a live stream with them, you're like, yeah, there's like a 50-50 chance of whether or not something's actually going to be printed. Let's just try printing any file right now. So I'm going to print just anything that kind of takes up some space. Boom. So I'm printing at 205 degrees with the bed at 50 degrees. I haven't had any issues so far with this not being able to maintain temperature. I feel like this clip might have come untied here, undone. That might have caused it to not print the way it should have. Alright, so we're just waiting. Let's see if I can get you a better camera angle here. Cinematography, am I right? There we go. What I like to do when prints start is kind of sit by with the needle nose pliers and just pick up any of the little goop that's sitting out there. Alright. There we go. It's laying down a bead of filament. sticking pretty well. It's not looking totally the way I would want it. It's got some weird vibration issues in this corner. I wonder if that was a one-time thing or if it's going to do that repeatedly. What I'm printing is actually a logo for our school. We've been printing these for like a fundraiser. So it's just like big block letters of the school mascot's name. But I feel like the level is a little too high. This is actually a raft that it's printing right now. It's just looking a little too high to me. We'll see how that comes out. I'm very curious about this corner. I don't know if you guys can see this bottom corner down here. It's very jagged, and I don't know what the deal was with that. Looks like that might have just been a one-time deal. So what I'm actually going to do is adjust these thumb screws just a little bit to raise the bed up. I might do that on all of them. Because right now the problem I'm having is the filament as it's coming out on the bed is a little too it's a little too round. It almost looks like the filament that's off the roll, and I don't want it to be smushed. You want it to be a little bit flat. You don't want it to be driven into the bed, but you want it to be nice and flat, where it's totally stuck. The print's not going to come undone halfway through the filament's not going to come undone halfway through the print and come unstuck from the bed. Mexican soccer kid. How's my Monoprice Mini Delta? I mentioned a little bit earlier in the stream, it's great. If you were to go back and watch the beginning, I did some comparison prints between it and the Prusa, and it is real close. The Prusa definitely beat it out, for sure, but really not by much. You would not guess that it was that much of a price difference between the two. So I'm still kind of testing it out. I'm going to do a full review video on it in the next couple weeks, but I'm really happy with it. Right now, I would definitely say it's got some quirks. It's definitely worth $150. It's a really fun printer. And it's really fun to print in a totally different style. I've never used a Delta before. Okay, this is looking a lot better. And what I mean by that, let me see if I can show you guys. So what I mean when I say it's looking a lot better, if I get back here and try to really get the camera up in here, I don't know how easy it's going to be to see on the screen, but as the filament is being laid down, I don't want it to be too round. You want it to be nice and flat, and the part that's printing right now is real flat. That means the height of the nozzle is perfect. It's exactly how it should be. Originally it was a little too round, which meant the nozzle was a little too high. This is perfect. I need to lower this just a little. Okay, so what I'm going to do now then, actually, is stop this print. I'm going to stop the print. I'm going to take this. Oh, did not like that. We're going to tool. We're going to disable the drives. There we go. It did not like me messing around there. I'm going to take this off, because that was one test print. It's not bad, and I like that I actually just scrape it off, so I'm pretty darn happy. Pretty darn happy with it. What I would like to do is try that calibration print I had mentioned one more time. I think I figured out the problem of why it didn't print before. There we go. So we'll wait for it to get up to temperature. And basically what the calibration test is it prints it just prints all over the bed, one layer. And so that way you can see what it's looking like as time goes on. Mexican soccer kid, you might consider getting the Mini Delta. I'll do sometime in the next 3-4 weeks, I'll do a full review video on it once I've had more time with it. But like I said, right now, I definitely recommend it. Some of the quirks are that it has no power switch, so you have to plug it in, unplug it every time you want to use it, which I'm not super crazy about. The build size is small, because the build plate's only about this big, but again, it's called a Mini, so I wasn't really mad about that. What else are some of the quirks? The menus are a little bit funky. Otherwise, though, I mean, like, it's a good printer. I like that it's a little hard to adjust the bed. It's really fast. It's really fast. The two benchies I showed at the beginning of this video, I forgot to mention that the Delta printed probably took half the time of the Prusa. The Prusa, I can get great results from it, but it's slow to get those good results. And it's worth it, but it's really nice to have a printer that prints fast. So I've been quite impressed with the Delta. For $150, I really don't think you can go wrong. But I'll let you guys know as I work on that a little more and play with it a little bit more. So I'm just waiting for this to heat up and do a test print, calibration print. But I think we're in business. It's been a while since this printer has worked reliably. Oh man, that print is just not working. Let me try a different one. I don't even know what this one is. It just says Monoprice Cal, which I'm guessing means calibration. There we go. I'm pretty determined to make this, work somewhat successfully before we wrap up this stream, just so we can say mission accomplished. There we go. Now, is it actually laying down filament? No. There we go. It took a second to get it out. Okay, so this is just going to be laying down kind of like a zigzag pattern of filament. So let me see how leveled out the bed is. Kind of maybe position this over here. It's a little funky down here. That looks too high. This side's looking really good. This back area here is looking a little rough. That corner's looking great. There we go. Oh, it's so nice. This is such a handy printer to have. It sucks when it didn't work. Really hoping we're kind of ironing out some of those kinks and no parts needed to be replaced. Yeah, okay. I think we are in business here. All right. Nice. All right. I'm going to stop this calibration print because I think we're good as far as that goes. It's really the perimeters I was worried about the most right now. So I'm going to take this off. What I'd really recommend, if anyone watching this is interested in 3D printing at all, if you're familiar with it and experienced with it, that's awesome. If you haven't played around with it, but you're thinking about it, I'd really recommend getting one of these like Monoprice Mini printers or the Delta. Something that gets good reviews. The Minis are really good. And the version 2 that's now the current one. They will, if you decide you don't like the hobby, it's not a ton of money that you've invested in it. If you decide that you love the hobby, they're still really reliable printers to have around. So I strongly recommend them. Here's what we'll do right now. I'm going to switch my angle a little bit. There we go. We'll add in that close-up because I'm going to print. There we go. There's a video on my channel from several months back where I printed these little XYZ calibration cubes, little cubes that you calibrate your printer with, and I did it on all my printers and kind of tested it out. I'm going to print one of those right now since I've adjusted this and see how that works. That print probably won't finish before I wrap up this live stream, but I'll let you know how the results go, and I'll kind of do an update on that video as time has gone on and see how all these printers compare with those calibration cubes. But as we go to kind of wait for this to print, I'm sure hoping it prints. Seriously. But there we go. As we go to kind of wrap this up a little bit, one thing that I wanted to remind everyone and ask everyone, if you're watching this and you've watched, several of my videos at all or more, please make sure that if you haven't, you definitely hit the subscribe button, because it helps me to know who's watching my videos and to kind of have a nice grasp on this many people are subscribed, this many people are watching. That's always good. Right now, I know that most of my views come from people who aren't subscribed, so I'd like to change that. It just helps me out a lot. And if you like live streams, I enjoy the live part of the live stream where I get to interact with people, so the more the merrier. And if you want to interact on chats and things with live streams, make sure when you subscribe that you hit the bell, so that way you get notifications, and that way when I do live streams, try to always put it out on Instagram or Twitter beforehand, a few hours, so that way people have an idea to expect a stream. But if something happens impromptu or you don't get those notifications, at least as soon as the stream starts, if you hit the bell, you'll get a notification, and then you can join in and chat and talk and everything. This looks like it is off to quite a good start, which I'm happy about. So that being said, that's one thing that let me see, I have my notes here of things I wanted to make sure to talk about and to mention. So one thing to wrap it up, I'm really shooting to have 200 subscribers by Sunday, by this upcoming Sunday. Just sort of an arbitrary goal I set, but it's fun to celebrate those milestones. But not just 200 subscribers, 200 genuine subscribers. So please definitely, if you like this video, push the thumbs up, subscribe, check out the other videos. I've got quite a few 3D printing videos. If you're interested in 3D printers, I'll have more coming. I didn't have a video uploaded today. Today's the first Tuesday I missed my upload, which is why I want to make sure I did at least a stream today. And the reason for that was things got so busy. The last video I uploaded was about Skills USA, and we had another event for that this last weekend. And work and life were so busy that I didn't have time to make a good video. And part of me was kind of thinking, hey, just make a video, and Heather even kind of helped me out going what if you did a challenge, a 1-minute video challenge or this or that. And I thought, the challenge part that of just producing, I did that a few months ago when I did a 30-day video upload challenge. Now, since I've been getting a lot of quality viewers and I've been interacting with people, and I feel like I like the direction my channel's going, I didn't want to just upload to upload. I didn't want someone to find it, be interested in it, subscribe, and then get garbage as their first upload notification. So I figured it would be better to wait, choose quality over quantity. I have a great idea for the video that I'm putting together for next Tuesday, and I'm really excited about it. But it took a little more time than 1 day to do. So that's why there was no video this week. I want to take a little more time, make it extra great for next week. So that's that. There we compared the benchies, talked about printers. These are the printers that I have. These are all 5 of my 3D printers. They are rarely seen together at one time. It's like, I don't know. It's like all of the Beatles together at once. This one would be Ringo for sure. So, wait, were there 5 Beatles? Or no, there's 4 Beatles. Ugh, sorry. This is definitely the 5th Beatle. Anyway, if you got questions about any of these printers, please send them my way on this video or go comment on another video. I'm happy to help out. And so if you didn't know, I've got 2 of the Monoprice Minis, the version 1s. I've got the Monoprice Delta, I've got the Prusa Mark II S, and I've got the Monoprice Maker Select Plus. Some pretty common, pretty popular printers with good communities behind them. Let's see if we can kind of... Sort of hard to see what's happening here. I'm just printing a calibration cube down in this corner. But there we go. That's the main stuff. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for hanging out on your Tuesday nights. I really appreciate it. I will be back with the live stream on Sunday night, 7 o'clock Sunday night. Cool stuff as usual. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. And next Tuesday, bright and early, video upload. So I hope you guys have a great night. I'll update you on how this printer does. Maybe go to Instagram. I'll put my stuff up on the screen real quick. I'm not quite as active on Twitter, although I try to be, but Instagram I'm pretty darn active on, so if you follow @SoDarnTom, I post a lot of 3D printer updates. I'll definitely put this calibration cube on there when it's done, so you can see how this printer worked after I tried to fix it and get it all leveled out tonight. Because this sucker has to go do some work tomorrow and earn us some money. So that's that. Thank you guys again for watching. Make sure to subscribe, hit like buttons, check out my other 3D printing videos. There's a whole bunch of them, and send any questions my way. I hope you have a terrific night. Thanks again. See you next time. I don't have a sign-off thing, so I'll go downstairs.